Hello, Ryan.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to meet you, and congrats on such a cat-tastic film, I must say.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm one of those people that have never seen the show, know nothing about this world. I watched it, and I loved it, and you have a new fan.
Amazing. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so what excited you most about bringing Gabby and her world to the big screen for the first time when the opportunity presented itself?
Well, I come at it as a father of Gabby fans, so that was the biggest thing for me. My son now is old enough and watches it. He's 4, but before that, my daughter, it was her favorite show, and so when the opportunity came up, it was like to turn my daughter's favorite TV show into a movie. I was like, this absolutely, we need to, I need to do this. She's gonna think I'm the coolest. She thinks I'm okay. It's hard to get a 7-year-old to think you're the coolest. But that was the big draw for me. Was we were already a Gabby household, so we had all the toys and everything. So I already was so familiar with the characters and the way the stories operate. So it was like just kind of a really fun thing to come in as a fan first, and then and build something that I thought families would enjoy and the kids who love the show would appreciate.
Yeah, since your kids were fans, did they give you any advice or feedback or unexpected notes when you were making the film?
All the time. Well, even I would have my daughter check out, we'd be working on designs, and so Gabby changes costumes a lot in the film, right? So I would have a lineup, and I'd be like, hey. I remember very specifically, there's a musical number in the beginning where Gabby has she's got sunglasses on and a sparkly hoodie and whatever. And I had brought my daughter upstairs. We were in the middle of an art review, and I was working from home that day, and we couldn't figure out which one. We were like, I like that one. I also like that one. And so I was like, hang on. So I was like, Gwen, get up here. So she comes up to my office and she picked C, and then that's the one that was in the movie. So all the time. I mean, I wanted to make sure that I had the test audience at home, use them and get their feedback regularly.
Yeah, and it did a great job with that feedback, I must say. Gabby's Dollhouse is built on sense of play. How important was it to keep that same interactive spirit for a theater audience?
Yeah, it was really important. I mean, I think it was challenging in its own ways of taking something that traditionally operates as a series at home. It's preschool. It's pretty young. You're gonna have to change some things to get it to be a theatrical experience, to be to make a feature film story wise, but then also make it the kind of film that families are gonna want to go see and deliver on the promise of something bigger, right? And so that was a big challenge, but also the exciting part of it is how do we grow this, from Gabby in her bedroom with the dollhouse to the world at large. And I wanted to keep that it happens all the time. I'll hear my son. It's like, do you want to do that? And you'll hear my son who's 4 go, yes, just talking to the TV. And I was like, that is such a part of the show that she's always looking right down the pipe of the camera and asking the audience to get involved. And I wanted to find a way to do that, but not necessarily in a way that would be at, a preschool level. So I went and referenced Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And stuff. I was like, what's the best version of these characters talking to camera, and kind of finding that, and then finding ways to tweak it, as I'm sure you've seen the film, to tweak the expectations of the character talking to camera. And we get a lot of fun interplay with Kristen Wiig as Vera the cat lady, not understanding what Gabby is up to as she's talking to the audience. And I think it creates a really fun, and as a parent, I think you're in on that joke in a way that that maybe some of the youngest aren't. So, yeah. And then I kind of also I was like, wow, if we could get all of the audience, not just the kids to play along, but get the parents and the whole, the grandparents, everyone who's in there to play along by the end of the film, that would be something special. And I've seen it. We've done some test screenings, and I've seen audiences play along, and it was a pretty special moment for me to realize wow, this can work. And I think the families are going to walk out of the theater with a very special experience that they don't normally get at the movies. So I'm excited for it.
No, it definitely did work. And you just mentioned Kristen Wiig, which brings such a fun, eccentric energy like she always does. Why does she always feel like she's always perfect for these types of roles? Because she is.
She is, man. I mean, she is a gem. She's one of the smartest, funniest, hardworking people. And she's so down to earth and so collaborative. And I think that's what, that was the the special sauce of it all was that she's so collaborative. So we would just play and kind of get in there and like, we had the script, of course, but even before, maybe like, sometimes it was weeks before, but sometimes it would be the day before. We'd say like, we're doing this scene tomorrow. And I'm kind of thinking maybe we could change up this, or we could try some different versions of this line or whatever that was. And so sometimes we would come in, the cat yoga scene is a great example. That morning we both came in with like a list of like 40 different yoga poses that we should try. And it was hilarious. And we're just like making each other laugh. And of course, like, I'm lucky I'm the director because I would just bust up laughing in the middle of a take. Like probably anyone else would get in trouble, but I couldn't help it because I just find her so entertaining. She's at her best. She's doing what she does. And it's, she's incredible.
Yeah, she is. And obviously there's no Gabby without Laila. Do you remember her reaction when she first walked onto the set and maybe seen some of the props and everything?
Yeah, it was big. I don't think Laila I don't think Laila understood how big the movie was until she got to set and then kind of went, "Oh," it was like cuz they do the series in New York and it's on a sound stage and it's one set. And so this was a big movie with multiple sets and on location and out in the wild and all this, so I just remember her kind of like taking it all in and going, "Oh, like this is actually pretty big." And I was like, "Yeah, you're going to do great. Like you're going to be awesome." And she's such a pro. She's so like, I love that. I love her so much. And I love watching her grow through this role and sort of, she's becoming an incredible actress. And she's such a like smart, intelligent young woman. And she's such a great role model. There's just so many things about Laila that I can't say enough. She's, we're all lucky, especially as parents, to have her as such a like influential character in our kids' lives because she's the real deal. She's just that sweet and that person.
Yeah, and she's not really even a rising star. She's already a star,
Yeah.
She's already there, which is awesome. The live action animation hybrid, I absolutely loved, we don't get much of it in general. But what were some of the biggest technical challenges to seamlessly blend the real and animated worlds?
Yeah, that was part of the trick, right? It was like kind of creating a sleight of hand where you have the live action world, you have the animated world, and then you have the hybrid sort of in between, and making sure, because there are a handful of movies that kind of do it, but for us, it was really making sure that the animated world was super immersive and was kind of the biggest place. It's where play exists. It's where your imagination is wild. It's kind of where like the biggest set pieces are going to be. And then the world at large, when the characters are animated, feels very big to them. It's a little bit Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And then so there was a lot of sort of discussion and in finding those intersecting points of, how do you blend those things? And it's like, we were referencing like actually Hitchcock, and like, how do you hide the cut? How do you find that moment where the character is animated in the live action world and finds their way into the animated world and make it look right and feel like it's still the same movie. So a lot of time and attention went into those intersecting points. And I think, I'm super happy with the way it turned out. I think it's a really fun, for me, it's fun to have like a different set of paints in my, in my box. I'm like, I got a whole new skill set to play with, and I'm loving it.
Well, it looks amazing, I must say. Like I was in awe and everything. Was there a particular sequence that was especially tricky but rewarding to pull off?
Yeah. Okay. So the downhill chase of through Cat Francisco, that took a couple days to film, and it was like had to be so well choreographed in terms of where is the dollhouse, where is Gabby, what are people seeing? And it was tricky. And honestly, I mean, I think there's still some things you always, as a director, you're always going to look back and go, man, I wish we had pulled that one off. Because there were a few things we tried to pull off. We just couldn't. But yeah, because we're dealing with VFX, and we had a dollhouse that was built like, for the VFX team. It was this painted dollhouse on top of a bicycle, like on the front of a bicycle. So we had people riding this bike somewhere. There's got to be pictures of it, but riding this bike with a dollhouse on it, so we could track the dollhouse and the speed that we thought the dollhouse would be going through the city as you've got like people crossing over and all these things, and Lila's running after it. So it was challenging, but it was also one of the more fun, things to be out there just trying to figure out how all these little shots are going to, because there's a lot of cuts in that sequence. So it was like a lot of moments trying to build it into one big, story point.
That's a fun scene though. That's definitely very fun. Children movies are often, I think, I say this all the time, underrepresented compared to other genres. Why do you personally think we don't see enough of them on the big screen? And how can films like this change that? Because I really want to see more of it, because I don't think we get enough of it at all.
I agree. I hope this is I don't think this movie itself is going to change the industry, but I hope it's a little bit of a turning point. I really intentionally wanted to make a family film similar to the things that I grew up with, which were like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Someone threw out Harry and the Hendersons the other day. I was like, that is a good reference. To kind of like make those kinds of movies and get them on the screen. And those films are the ones that I remember, like when growing up, those early experiences of going to the movies and seeing those kinds of movies. And I think that's what I really tried to do with this film, is like allow it to be fun, allow it to be cheeky, allow it to be like, this bright, colorful experience. We've got even the nod. There's a nod to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with Gloria Estefan wearing these giant glasses. And she's making tiny little foods. And that was like that was a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids moment of the Rick Moranis with the big goggles. Because I wanted that kind of play, and I wanted it to feel like that, like those kinds of movies from my childhood. And I think those were really like informative for me as a young, film goer. And so I'm kind of hoping that something like this can play, that family movies and comedies too. I think comedy has kind of fallen off a little bit. So I'm hoping that this kind of will just be part of, additive to like the theater experience and things changing a little bit,
Well, the demand is there for these types of films. I will say that. And I really love this film. I definitely want to see more like this. This film reaches both diehard fans and of the series and newcomers like myself. So how did you want to balance tailoring it to the devoted Gabby audience while welcoming fresh viewers too?
Yeah, it was super important that the kids who love this show and they really, really love it, my own kids included, that they felt like it was honest to the series. And that we weren't going so far. And I think a lot of that was, character design, keeping while we definitely pushed all of the textures and made them more tactile and tangible, as a whole, like from a design standpoint, they stayed pretty much true to what they are in the series, because it's just super successful and you don't want to break it. I don't want to be the person who broke it. But B, like I wanted kids to drive down the street and see the billboard and go, that's Gabby, like that's the doll, like all that. It looks better somehow, but like, but that was very important. And then, I knew that we were taking something that was, fairly young and needed to find a way to lift it up and bring it to a theatrical experience. And then I started thinking about, well, the parents are key. Like the parents are going to be the ones who are taking their kids to see this film. And then hopefully we can build a sort of bridge between the younger fans and the kids who grew up watching the show that might be a little older, might be 8 or 9 now, or maybe they're 10. And then maybe their brothers and sisters who are up to 12. And, like we know it's probably not the date night movie, but if we can get that core family audience to the theater, then that's like what the movie is about. It's really about, being young and growing up and playing, and time is precious when you're at that age. And so as a father wanting to make a film that really spoke to parents as much as kids, that's where I started to really dig in and get into the thematics of it. And, thinking about my own daughter and how she's, growing up in front of my own eyes, and how like I love watching her grow up, and it's not a bad thing, but I also don't want her to lose all the, playfulness and silliness. And so it's a really, like, I thought, well, if I could get that into the story, then maybe the parents are going to sit there at the end of the film, look at their kids and go, man, this time is precious. Like we did, this is a great going to the movies together as a family. Like that is a special experience. And I'm really glad we did it. So that was kind of where my thought process was in terms of delivering on a full family experience and a film that parents would really enjoy themselves.
Well, I'm glad you did. The messaging and themes are fantastic, along with the story and the performances, and the world that you brought to the big screens is fantastic. Ryan, thank you so much for chatting, and thanks for bringing such a great family film to theaters.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks for the time.